regulating reserve na kanina sinabi 97 megawatts. And sinasabi ng PCPC kanina ngayon na hindi sila contracted. Hindi kayo contracted, di ba?
No, sir. No.
So in other words, so pinuha, saan napapunta yung 97 megawatts na regulating reserve? Sa first baksa pa lamang ng tinatawag nating PDC. Di ba kinuha niyo sa regulating reserve? Christian?
Tama po, Mr.
Okay.
Chair, yung
Kinuha niyo sa regulating reserve. At kulang yung 55. So ang ginamit niyo, itong 97 megawatts, correct?
Mr. Chair, just to clarify po, yung regulating reserve, contingency reserve, at dispatchable reserve, yun po ay pang-regulate ng frequency. Yung pinadispatch po namin kay PCPC to increase their terminal voltage or to provide MVAR para po siya sa voltage regulation.
Okay, pang-regulator ng frequency.
Voltage po yung pinag-regulate.
Okay, voltage. Hindi siya megawatt?
Hindi po, megavar po.
Wala kayong ancillary na megawatts?
Meron po. Pero hindi po ancillary service provider si PCPC.
Okay, no. I know. Pero dito sa inyong schedule contracted reserve, megawatts, di ba? And that's the reason why I'm asking this. Dahil bumaksak yung PCPC. And in accordance with our Philippine Grid Code, dapat meron kayong tinatawag ng spinning reserve o yung tinatawag nating wet standby. Ay, wet standby. Correct ba yan? Hot standby. Hot na hot. Dapat may naka-hot na standby na kapag nagkaroon ng sudden reduction of demand, automatic. Di ba? Synchronize. Do you have a spinning reserve? Spinning reserve?
Meron po. Mr.
Meron?
Chair.
Totoo? Sigurado ka? You're under oath. Yes or no? Totoo? Totoo hindi?
Meron po.
Kung meron, bakit bumigay? Bakit bumigay ang sistema? Samantalang nung bumigay ang PCPC, dapat automatic spinning, hot, reserve, automatic, synchronize, upon sudden demand reduction, pasok sila in a split of second.
Lahat.
Ano lahat?
Lahat po ng planta, yung iba pong planta kasi bumigay din po.
Hindi, mali sa mo. Mali sa mo, automatic, bumigay yung 135 eh. Kung bumigay yung 135, dapat automatic, synchronize, spinning, reserve, hot. Siya papasok, in a split of a second. Pero wala kayo eh. Aminin mo na, meron kayo, meron o wala?
reserve eh.
Yung kanina po napag-usapan.
Meron o wala?
Meron po. Yung po kanina.
Eh kung meron, bakit ang ng blackout? Bakit bumigay ang, pagkatapos bumigay ang PCPC, bumigay na lahat? Dapat yung automatic spinning nga. Babasahin ko silang Philippine Grid Code, ha? Panakalagay dito. Ito ang mga gagawin nyo. In accordance to 7.6 frequency control and voltage control. Okay? Ang primary na gagawin nyo, primary response of the generating units in coordination with you. Magbibigay kayo. Makinig ka.
Yung line na yan, magandang reaction na.
Dahil mo may responsibilidad sa ginawa mo sa tao ng mga taga-Iloilo.
Hindi natin sa ano na lang para magandang copy.
At Panay pala. Oo. Oo nga pala, Panay sa Negros. Okay. Kung nag-fail ka sa primary response, sa secondary response, which you fail, dahil tumawag kayo sa PCPC, nag-deliver sila, tapos nag-fail kayo, so papasok na yung spinning. Pero wala. Hindi niya nasambot yung problema ng 135 megawatts. Wala kayong spinning reserve. Wala kayong hot standby. At ang sabi ng Philippine Grid Code, kung wala kang hot standby, dapat merong backup reserve. Ito yung tinatawag namang cold standby. And Mr. Wally Mundo is here. Alam niya yan. Masasagot niya. And I will point out, in accordance with the Philippine Grid Code, 7.6.3, ang sinasabi dito, anong spinning reserve? A generating unit providing spinning reserve as an ancillary service shall be synchronized with the grid and be available to automatically respond to any sudden loss or significant reduction in generating capacity. Automatic. Wala pa isang second. Pag bitaw ng PCPC, pasok agad ang spinning reserve. At kung walang spinning reserve, pasok naman yung backup reserve. Di ba? Oh, oo ka ng oo. Tapos pag tinatanong kita, hindi naman. Ha?
Absent-minded.
Yes, NGCP.
Yeah, opo. Yung kanina po nabanggit natin, no, ng mga spinning, mga hot reserve, cold reserve, para po siya sa frequency. Hindi po kasi frequency yung problema ko.
But, alam mo, huwag mo kami guluhin. Alam mo, ganyan ang ugali ng NGCP. You tend to confuse our people. Dati sinasabi ng inyong spokesperson, sino spokesperson nyo? Si Atty. Putya, sinasabi ng Atty. Putya na kaya hindi kami nagme-main load drop because may problema, walang problema ang voltage. At napanood ko yan eh. Sinabi nyo, walang problema ang voltage. And now we are talking about the problem of the voltage. Huwag nyo i-confuse ang ating taong bayan. Kaya nagkakaisa na ang mga tao dito eh, pati na ang ating gobyerno eh. Dahil sa panloloko nyo. Mr. Wally del Mundo, so can you kindly explain itong sinasabi natin na spinning and also the backup reserve, please?
Sige po, I
Prof. Del Mundo.
Maraming salamat po. Siguro mas maganda po paliwanag sa konteksto ng dalawang outage, yung 1206 at 219. Okay. So, yung grid code precisely sinulat po para hindi po mangyari yung outage ng system, whether it is total blackout or partial system blackout. Yung kung mawala ang buong Panay, tinatawag po natin yung partial system blackout kasi yung system yung Visayas. Okay. So, hindi po dapat nangyayari yan. And that's precisely how the grid code was designed. Anong sinasabi po ng grid code? Una, dapat po mayroong pang-control ng frequency, tatlo pong aspeto na tinatawag na ancillary services, at meron din pong ancillary services, pang-control naman ng voltage. Kasi pwede pong mag-collapse ang ating power system, either nagkaroon ng masyadong mataas o masyadong mababang frequency, at pwede rin mag-collapse po ang system kung may sobrang taas at sobrang baba ng voltahe. Kaya po ang grid code nag-require ng, in the case of frequency, nag-require po ang grid code ng contingency reserve, which is a spinning reserve. So yung pong kailangan meron na pong nakontrata, na-schedule at na-dispatch ng system operator na papalit kung may babagsak na pinakamalaking power plant doon sa ating grid. So ang aking pong appreciation ay doon po sa 1206 na pangyayari na 56 megawatt lang po ang bumagsak, which is na equivalent load ang nawala ng PEDC unit number 1, which is only 2.7% of the total demand of the grid at that time. So meaning, maliit po itong nawalang capacity, kaya po yung ating ancillary service, yung kanyang contingency reserve, plus at the same time gumagana din ang frequency regulating reserve. Gumana po yan, kaya po hindi po nagkaroon ng cascaded immediately. Ibig kong sabihin, kung nagkaroon po ng mas malaking outage, more than 56 megawatt, let's say nasa 100 o 150 megawatt, then kung hindi po adequate ang ancillary service at that time, then in split second, in several seconds, 1, 2, 3, 5 seconds, bumagsak na rin po yung others, which is actually what happened in the 2 p.m. Incident, to 19 p.m. So I should say that because of the small amount of generation na wala, gumana po yung available. Kaya po relevant yung question na adequate ba ang nakontrata at adequate din ba ang na-schedule mo. Dahil ang minamandate po ang system operator na kontratahin mo yung ancillary service level na handa ka sa pinakang worst case condition.
Yes.
So, kaya yun ang unang tanong. So, kung nag-work naman po, di sa loob po ng 2 oras, pero very clearly naman po sa discussion kanina, lumalabas na nag-i-struggle ang grid dahil sa voltage problem. Okay? So kaya po tinawagan ang mga stakeholders, ang mga power plant na lahat kayo mag-contribute, tulong-tulong tayo dito. So yun naman po din ang sinabi ng grid code na pag kayo ay tinawagan ng system operator, hiniling kayo na magbigay ng megabar, ibibigay nyo yan. Of course, meron din pong issue na dahil nga po, may limit din ang pwedeng ibigay ng power plant, kaya minamandate din ang grid code na ang system operator magpo-procure din kayo ng power, reactive power, voltage support, ancillary services. Na hindi pa natin natatanong ang NGCP kung ito ho ba ay adequately contracted din and dispatched dahil yun po ang dapat na kung hindi mo nila ipo-procure from the power plant, may mga solusyon naman po katulad ng nabanggit kanina na NGCP should be able to put up equipment that can provide the stability, the STATCOM na nabanggit po kanina. Yan ay in lieu of kung hindi mo kukontratahin o wala ka makakontratang power plant na pwedeng magbenta ng voltage, reactive power voltage support. Now, so nag-i-struggle but then ang point ko dito ay sinasabi rin ng grid code. Okay, nung nasalo na ng contingency reserve, yung nawala na generator, now, ang sabi ng grid code, may isa pa tayong reserve, dispatchable reserve. So yung dispatchable reserve, ini-schedule hindi mo yan, pero hindi po necessary na nakakonect na sa grid. It is not necessary na spinning na siya.
Backup.
Dahil pinoconsider ng backup dahil pero ang reason po kaya inilagay ng grid code ang requirement na ito, in case po na ang contingency reserve ay nagamit, the grid should be ready na hindi magkaroon ng blackout kung sakasakaling may susunod na power plant na babalik na mawawala, which is our 2 o'clock incident. No? So, sa aking pong appreciation, lumalabas po kasi na save nung ancillary services yung 12 o'clock, pero mukhang wala nang available para sa 2 o'clock. Kaya ho nung bumagsak si PVC, regardless kung ano man reason yan, the fact is that basta mayroong bumagsak na ulit na susunod, hindi dapat magkaroon ng blackout ang buong system. And therefore, in one of the provisions of the grid code, sinasabi ho doon na kung sa susunod, kung nagkaroon ka na ng single outage contingency, ang system operator kailangan merong tinatawag na contingency analysis na kung saan i-anticipate mo kung ikaw ba ay ready dahil baka may babagsak pa. Anong power plant ang available na pinakamalaki na kung yan ang babagsak, dapat
Yeah.
So titingnan mo ngayon kung yung iyo pang nakontrata na dispatchable reserve ay kaya bang saluhin yun. Kung hindi kaya, ibig sabihin, ang system po wala sa normal state. Sa grid code, dinidefine po yan nasa alert state ka na. Ngayon, kung nasa alert state na po ang grid, sinasabi rin ng grid code na ang system operator at this time must implement manual interventions, including redispatching the power plant, manual load dropping. Now, bakit po yung manual load dropping isinama doon as one of the solutions para makapaganda sa susunod na contingency? Kung magmamanual load drop po tayo, magkakaroon ng headroom yung mga power plant available para ho sila ang makasalo kung sakasakaling may dadalhin dahil nagamit mo na yung contingency reserve.
Okay, thank you so
yun
much,
po yung
Professor
ating
White, the author of the Philippine. Mr. Chairman, hindi ko
Wait lang,
hindi bawas sa akin yung Mr. Chairman.
Which one yan?
Yung hindi bawas sa akin yung
Hindi, pero mahaba ka na
Oh, sige.
But I just have to ask a follow-up question to Prof. Del Mundo. Sir, sinabi mo magkakaroon ng alert status or alert level tayo. The alert state, dito sa nangyari na to, kailan pumasok yung alert state?
Pagkatapos po ng 12:06. for that point.
So after, nung bumagsak si PEDC-1, alert state na tayo
State na
kagad.
po yun.
And that
In
would
my
allow,
appreciation,
yeah,
based on nangyari yung 2 o'clock. Kasi kung ikaw ay wala sa alert state, meaning fully the system was able to fully recover and kung fully recovered and then adequate yung iyong remaining ancillary services, dapat pag may bumagsak ulit power plant ulit, hindi po magkakaroon ng blackout.
and then from ang iniisip ko lang kasi, because during that time, PEDC-1, bumagsak.
Opo.
Pero sinalo ka ng spinning reserve.
Opo.
Tama. So normal ka.
Ang tawag po natin dyan, naka-recover na yung grid, pero
Okay.
hindi po natin dapat munang i-declare na normal siya.
Wait.
Apa.
Inano ko lang, Prof. Sorry. Inano ko lang kasi, so as to supply, okay tayo.
Apa.
Tama?
Apa.
As to supply. But according to the grid code kasi, sa tingin ko yung naging problema lang rito was the determination kung kailan pwede sila ipasok yung manual load
Apa.
shedding.
Okay.
Yun lang yung, I think this will probably could have been,
yung kung-
di ba? Pag yung, Prof, sa tingin ko lang yung determination kung kailan ng SO manual load shedding, yun lang eh. Kasi kung based on the grid code, sinabi na niya after bumagsak yung, based doon sa situation ng Panay Island na nasa dulo, connected lang siya sa submarine cable, tapos yung supply niya ng electricity is not even enough to handle the whole island. Yung determination lang, Prof, kung kailan pwede ang isang SO mag-manual load shedding. Kasi, nung narinig ko kasi, Prof, based on the statement ng NGCP, based on the grid code, hindi pa sila, they can't do manual load shedding. So, sa tingin ko kung merong i-adjust dito, it's, if their statement is correct, or if not, I think that's for the interim grid management committee to decide. Tingin ko yun yung naandun lang eh. Kasi kung na-handle yung kung pinayagan, or talagang they're allowed, then doon mo makikita kung saan fault. Yes, Prof.
Yun nga po, kaya po yung grid code dahil po sa sitwasyon na yan, nililinaw din po ng grid code na ang responsibilidad magde-decide in real time ay ang system operator. Meaning, hindi po sila mag-iintay ng kahit na sino para utusan sila ng mag-manual load dropping kung kinakailangan. It is their judgment call. Kaya po ang sabi ng grid code, the system operator shall implement this, shall do this. And immediately after doing that, they must report to the ERC their action. Because it is possible na pwedeng mali ang action na gagawin ng system operator. And that's why the grid code says, report to the ERC your action during this period. Dahil kailangan i-determine ng Grid Management Committee na tumutulong sa ERC kung ang naging action ba ng system operator during this period ay tama o mali. So yun po yung...
Thank you, Prof.
Mr. Chairman, that's the reason why we were asking a while ago yung kanilang ancillary services that they have procured. Dahil nga nakita natin that ang sinasabi ng Philippine Grid Code, dapat adequate frequency contingency reserve ang kanilang pinocure. But apparently, with all the exchanges of comments, we have proven that even the ERC was telling us that kulang talaga, hindi siya adequate. Kaya pupunta sa huli, bibigay at bibigay. Dahil hindi na ako adequate. Ang masama lamang, hindi kayo nagsasabi ng totoo. Dapat nagsasabi kayo ng totoo sa amin para at least nabibigyan natin ng peaceful resolution ang lahat. Pero kung patuloy kayo magsisinungaling dito sa kongresong ito, na para bang kaya nyo kaming lokohin, we will be compelled talaga to cite you in contempt. Kasi nakakapikon. Kaya mga taga-Iloilo napipikon, kami pa kaya. I've been fighting this for 5 years already. And not only the blackouts are being considered one of your faults. Ang dami. Reset. Di ba? Yung transmission rate, which is being now handled by Chairman Mona Lisa de Malanta, thankfully, thankfully, nagkaroon na ng initial determination. Can you kindly give us some details about the process of trying to get the refund of the 35 billion aside from the 200 billion? Briefly. May oras pa ako. Kinuha ni Chairman ang oras ko, kaya babawi ako.
Nilis ko yan, Honorable Fernandez. That would be your last question. Yes, Chairperson Dimalanta.
First yung 35 billion siguro, ano nang,
If Prof. Del Mundo can turn off the...
the canceled Fourth Regulatory Reset to 2016 to 2020.
Your Honor, we're completing the determination so we can come up with a final determination. Nag-comment naman na po yung NGCP, that's part of the process. We posted the initial draft, then they
Is
submitted
it
their
correct that
comments.
35 billion yung initial determination?
Wala pa pong...
Wala pa?
Wala pa po.
Ay, yung
We'll
200
finalize.
billion that disallowed by ERC, para doon sa mga corporate social
Yung po yung
responsibility.
binavalidate, may mga comments po sila doon, so we're validating. But we're targeting, Your Honor, especially with the directive of the President.
Can you kindly attach on that resolution kasi alam mo dito sa binayad ng mga taga-Panay, taga-Iloilo, nagbayad sila ng ancillary services eh. Like for example dito sa April 20, 2023, is it correct to say that meron tayong dispatchable 151 megawatts? Meron tayong bibigyan ng mga tao ng 151 megawatts sa dispatchable reserve that purchased but procured by NGCP.
120 na po yung contract
Okay,
nila.
122 contracted nila. At naka-blackout. Wala silang regulating, wala silang contingency. Am I right? Wala. Sa April, correct? O, so wala. So, nag-brownout. Ibalik ito sa taong bayan.
We can...
Kindly, kasi nangyari na to, tapos na to eh. Di ba? And even this research, itong tatlong to, nangyari na rin to. And they were able to contract 303. Pinasa sa tao to. Pinasa din yung 151. Ano yung sinasabi mo? Isama nyo na sa computation. Para na sa ganun, no? Maalibin natin yung feelings ng ating mga kababayan sa Iloilo at sa Panay.
Ang timeline po kasi noong 4th, hindi pa po saklaw itong 2023. So papasok po ito sa 5th year honor, not the 4th regulatory reset.
But I have to commend you for a job like that in ERC. Hopefully that we will be able to really have a resolute decision pertaining to the refund. And sana consider mo yung cash. Time and again, patuloy kaming mananawagan sa iyo. At ang taong bayan na nakikinig ngayon, ang dami Diyo, nakikinig sila. Dapat ibalik ng cash yan. Isipin mo, pag binalik natin ang cash yan sa taong bayan, that is 200 billion plus 35, 235, plus sa Ilo at Panay, 4 billion. How much will that be? Diba? So hindi tayo, hindi po makatanuhan na yung pera over-collected sa atin ay ginamit nila sa ibang bagay. Dapat ibalik yun sa pamamagitan ng cash. Hindi tayo magdidesisyon na ibabalik natin yun sa pamamagitan ng offsetting.
So, for the last question of Honorable Fernandez.
Alam niyo, boss natin to si but maraming po salamat kay Chairman for allowing me to extend my time. Mamaya na lang po ako magtatanong, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Honorable Fernandez.
Chairman. Maraming salamat po, Mr. Chairman.
Honorable Fernandez. Next on the list, we have 4 more to go. Honorable Reyes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Actually, most of my questions have been answered already, but I'd like to reiterate again and ask NGCP. It says here that the operational responsibilities of the system operator, determining, acquiring, and dispatching the capacity needed to supply the required grid ancillary services. In your record, ano yung na-contract ninyo for that particular period?
NGCP.
Yes, Mr. Chair, we're talking about the 1206.
At least for January to January 5. I think you normally put that also in advance, diba? So that you would forecast yung mga requirements.
Yes, that is correct, Mr. Chair. The one that we with the Honorable Fernandez, that's the levels of the auxiliary services on January 2. We also have levels for January 3, 4, and 5 year, Mr. Chair.
Yeah, what were those?
Let me check my records first, Mr. Chair.
Ilang percent ba? 16?
Yes, Mr. Chair. For the one that I discussed a while ago, that was for January 2, so let me start the levels for January 3, Mr. Chair.
Good.
For January 3, the scheduled ancillary services providers are for regulating reserve. There's a maximum of 94 megawatts, and lowest is 61.9 megawatts, Mr. Chair. For the contingency reserve, the scheduled capacity was maximum of 97 megawatts, and the lowest is 42 megawatts, Mr. Chair. And for the dispatchable reserve, highest is 169, and lowest is 150 megawatts, Mr. Chair.
One.
That's
That's your dispatchable reserve.
January, that's 151 for the dispatchable reserve. Lowest.
Sorry, who confirms your numbers?
Yes, I was about to ask
Oh,
Mr. Chair.
sorry.
Yeah, no, it's okay, Mr. Chair. But yes, who confirms that these are the needed, this is the required, the requirements for that particular period? Is there a regulating entity that confirms this?
Or hindi ba dapat sa ano yan? Sorry, Honorable Reyes. Isn't ERC supposed to be checking on... Yes, Honorable Timalanta.
Yes, Mr. Chair. As mentioned earlier, the required levels are fixed levels. They're not on I know for the requirements of the system, NGCP schedules them. But for example, NGCP's own bid bulletin as of December 27, 2023, indicated, and correctly so, the required levels for Visayas for regulating as 108. And they have contracted 100 megawatts for regulating. For contingency and dispatchable, the requirement is 153 megawatts corresponding to the largest unit in the system. And they have only contracted 30 for contingency and 84 for dispatchable. So their ability to do the schedule are limited to what they have contracted.
Okay, thank you. So I guess the question with NGCP is, why weren't you able to contract the required capacity needed for these? I believe that both ERC and DOE would have such data because they're the ones who have the power profile. You being the grid operator and the system operator, which also we have to question, how did it happen that you had to be both the grid operator and system operator? I mean, what was the wisdom behind having that, if NGCP may have such information? Because my understanding, during the drafting of the EPIRA, and even during the promulgation, the idea was that the system operator was supposed to be handled by the national government. somewhere along the line, when the concession was already given to NGCP, even the system operations was already given to you. So, would anybody have any institutional knowledge as to why such responsibility of that magnitude, which is both economic and national security in size, is also given to a private entity, who, by the way, a private entity is not 100% Filipino right now.
Yes, DOE, can you
Mr. Chair,
enlighten?
the IPIRA does not state that it has to be together or separate. So when it was with Transco, both was with Transco before, tapos nag-concession agreement sila with, nag-IPIRA tayo, then concession agreement siya with Transco, with, nagpisang with NGCP. And then in 2008, there was a concession agreement and then there was a franchise in 2008. Both indicates na dalawa yung functions ng NGCP.
So it was during the, was it PSAM that gave the recommendation that the grid operator and the system operator have to be unified as one?
I'm not privy to how it went with pero when they did the two documents, magkasama na siya. So I'm not sure how the negotiations went back then. Medyo long time ago.
2008. Maybe it would be good, Mr. Chair, if we could acquire such information during those times so that it could give us an insights on what was the wisdom back then of the ones regulating the industry.
That's why, Mr. Chair, as already pronounced by our Secretary of DOE, Secretary Alicia, and even the President, that we recommend the revisiting of the franchise and exploring the possibility of separating the two functions.
Okay, thank you. So, thank you, Mr. Chair. So I'll go back to the original question. Why has not NGCP contracted the sufficient either contingency reserve, ancillary reserve, and dispatchable reserve?
Yes, NGCP.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. When we conducted, Mr. Chair, the ancillary services competitive selection process, there was not enough capacity offered by generators for these ancillary services, Mr. Chair.
Within the Visayas,
Within the
Western
Visayas,
Visayas.
Great, Mr. Chair, that's correct.
Not enough. So, but then it was, but then you are mandated to acquire it.
That's correct, Mr. Chair, but we only depend on the availability of ancillary services provider, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Then I guess the question I'll direct the question to DOE. If I believe ASIC Marasigan will probably have an idea during that time as to why given that there is already a ready market, there is already a willing buyer for the spinning contingency. What were the economic conditions during that time as to why there was nobody willing to contract with NGCP or the system operator back then? Or if anybody from ERC or DOE would know this?
Yes, ASIC Marasigan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you for the question, Kong Reyes. Just to have some idea before, way back in 2019, when the Department of Energy formulated the policy on ancillary services, including the formulation of the reserve market, there was a window provided by the Department of Energy for NGCP to convert all their non-firm contracts on ancillary services to firm. That policy also contains that in the absence of the reserve market, NGCP is required to have 100% compliance to this firm aspect. Unfortunately, this was not done by the NGCP. And when our CSP policy for ancillary services was promulgated, there was a provision there that they should inform and get approval of the Department of Energy on the CSP documents, particularly the invitation to bidders and the terms of reference. But that was questioned by NGCP. Even it contains the letter that they provided us. It contains constitutionality issues. And before they conducted the CSP, it was actually after the show cause order of ERC. So yan po yung kwento, bakit naging ganyan yung sitwasyon natin sa ancillary services. Thank you very much.
Sorry, asking Marisigan, does this apply just to Western Visayas or the whole country yung problema sa ancillary service?
The whole country, yes, Sir Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, I wanted to emphasize that I believe during that time, it was the whole country that there was not sufficient ancillary services that was supposed to be acquired by NGCP. And after what Asek Marasigan has said, that only during the show cause orders did they begin to act on it. And even if they did act on it, there still wasn't enough. They're still not able to comply. So, what are the legal remedies that we may have? Yes.
It was not enough because ang requirement nila was dapat accredited ka sa kanila.
Let's hear from NGCP.
They're the ones accrediting anyway.
You said, if I may,
Oh, yes,
so
yes.
just to make it clear, the only reason why that could be a hindrance din pala is that bago ka makakuha ng ancillary services sa kanila, ay kailangan ma-accredit ka pa nila.
Yes, can we hear from NGCP if that's a requirement for
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Actually, that's a requirement of the Philippine Grid Code. Because ang ancillary services, Mr. Chair, is a specialized service. Hindi po lahat na generators pwedeng mag-supply ng ancillary services. May mga technical capabilities po dapat sila para makapag-respond sila sa grid disturbances. Hindi po lahat ng planta sa Visayas capable to provide ancillary services. Kulang ang capacity ng mga planta sa Visayas to provide ancillary services. Kaya kulang po ang pupuntahan namin.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair. But given that, it is still your requirement, given you're the system operator and the franchise holder for operating the grid, you have to be more proactive in getting it, wouldn't it? So, what was your solution para if there was not enough qualified plans para maging firm yung mga contracts ninyo sa ancillary services?
NGCP?
Tulad po ng nasabi ko kanina, Mr. Chair, kulang po yung planta. Kailangan pong magdagdag ng planta sa Visayas to provide ancillary services and to provide energy supply sa Visayas, Mr. Chair. Para maging sapat po ang supply ng ancillary services and energy supply sa Visayas, Mr. Chair.
But Mr. Chair, again, the question, bakit kailangan nung may show cause order lang, saka lang kayo gumalaw?
NGCP. Attorney Yato.
Yeah, if I may.
Yes, please.
Thank you for the question, Congressman Reyes. This was already also mentioned by Yusek Kashamgari. There were legal issues that NGCP was trying to raise with the DOE. There were also technical issues that the NGCP also would want to be clarified with the Department of Energy. And so it took a while for NGCP to implement the CSP. We would also like to highlight that we have in fact maintained that position, that legal position. Nevertheless, at the end of the day, we conducted the CSP in spite of the continued reservation of NGCP as far as our position that the only issue in the CSP that was raised by NGCP, which is legal in nature, is whether or not there is a necessity for the Department of Energy to approve the terms of reference. But in spite of our continuing objection, and we continue to raise this issue, we complied, and it was in fact already conducted in 2022. Again, we also would like to highlight that why we conducted the CSP and all the unmet, let's just say, or uncontracted requirements for each and every ancillary services were offered to whoever is interested to join the ancillary services competitive selection process. The success of the competitive selection process largely depends on the interest of the AS providers to join. The interest of the ancillary service providers to join, of course, if you ask us, we don't know the reason. Another reason, which was already mentioned by Engineer Ortiz earlier, is that in fact, not all power plants are capable to provide these different types of ancillary services. Different plants with different technologies are unique in nature. Therefore, they may be able to, they may be qualified to provide a certain type, but not qualified to provide another type. That is the reason why the accreditation process would come in, because at the end of the day, we will also do not want to contract a plant which purportedly claims to be qualified to provide ancillary services when they are not. So this is actually the reason for the accreditation. We would also like to highlight that the requirement for accreditation is actually part of the terms of reference which we submitted to the DOE, and it has also approved that the terms of reference when we conducted the, I'd just like to call it the first round of CSP. So that is the reason why, in spite of the CSP conducted, there are still unfilled levels of the different types of ancillary services that are yet to be met. We are also anticipating the commencement and the commercial operation of the reserves market, because supposedly any unfilled ancillary services which were conducted through competitive selection process should be filled by the reserve market.
Okay, Honorable Reyes, I just want the DOE to confirm what NGCP has just mentioned. Yes, Asik Mercy.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I wish to point out, particularly on the issue of the accreditation process of these ancillary services. If I may, I wish to repress NGCP's role in the formulation of the ancillary services policy. They were part of the technical working group, and the problem that we have seen is that NGCP's position that they cannot complete the testing of all facilities of all power plants to be accredited as ancillary service provider, specifically in March 2020, wherein it was indicated in our AS policy. So maaari po naging totoo yung hindi capable lahat ng planta because the actual testing of all facilities were not done.
NGCP, can you reply to that?
This is only as far as the information I received, Madam Chair. The testing, of course, would require proper coordination between NGCP and the generator who would want to be tested, if they are qualified or not. And of course, this would already require the scheduling of the testing, whether the generator is available, whether our personnel is available, and whether the system would allow such testing. It is not just a simple test where you go to the power plant and then check whether there are boxes to be ticked, and then sign the accreditation. So this is a very technical process in nature, which would require not only the proper coordination as to whether the plant is ready to be tested at a certain point in time, whether the personnel from NGCP is also available to test, because of course they have to consider also the others who also apply for testing.
So how many have applied for testing that you have tested for accreditation? So to add more to the issue, can you just submit to this committee a list of all those power plants that applied for accreditation as an ancillary service?
Yes, Your Honor. If I may also, Your Honor, there was a question hanging earlier
Yes.
as to what was the basis for the system operator to be lumped as one in the privatization of the transmission sector. This is, and I would like to read Section 7 of the IRR of the EPIRA. And I won't go through each and every item, but I'd just like to go directly to the relevant provision. And Section 7 of the IRR of the EPIRA states, functions and responsibilities of Transco or its buyer concessionaire. So even at that point in time, the government has already considered, and let me go directly to the point. Transco or its buyer concessionaire shall have, among others, the following functions and responsibilities. Act as the system operator of the nationwide electrical transmission and subtransmission system, transferred to it by
But
entities.
Attorney Octo, as what is given can also be taken down because it's not a right. And it only depends that you continue your service only if you've done that service very well and not affecting a lot of people. So as to the separation of the SO and the other part of NGCP, that all depends on the government if they want it to still continue. Because it all depends on good service. And transmission affects almost everyone. So let's leave it at that. And still continue, and I think Honorable Reyes wants to add some more questions.
Just two more questions, Mr.
questions.
Chair.
Thank you.
My understanding on the terms of reference for the contracting and ancillary services, who formulated the terms of reference? Was it the DOE or was it you, NGCP?
The terms of reference is already included in the circular, if I'm not mistaken, or is it an
I'm
order?
sorry, I am asking who formulated it.
Again, the answer to that, Mr. Question, Mr. Chair, is that there's already a terms of reference as a guide provided by the DOE in that circular. We can propose additional terms that the DOE may accept or not, but there's already some sort of a guide that would guide the NCB as to how it will conduct the CSP. At the end of the day, the TOR, and it is also mandated in that particular department, the issuance, that is submitted to the DOE for its approval.
Sorry, Mr. Chair.
Last
DOE
question.
formulated the TOR for you to comply with. And my understanding during the course of this discussion is sometimes you question DOE on the policy of the TOR para sa ancillary services ninyo. Tama po ba yun? NGCP?
It's actually, among others, a legal question whether there is really a basis for the TOR to be approved by the Department of Energy. Mr. Chair.
Why are you questioning the policy formulator?
Sorry, pardon, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chair, I am asking NGCP. They are the policy formulator. You are the system operator that you are supposed to comply with the policies. Why are you questioning the policy formulator?
I'm trying to recall particularly the legal issue that NGCP raised. But as far as I can recall, the issue raised by NGCP is that when we submit the TOR for the DOE's approval, the TOR already includes some management directives, actions, and prerogatives, which to us is already beyond the ambit of the Department of Energy to approve. Short of saying, if the TOR which necessarily includes management actions, prerogatives, and exercise of its power, is submitted to the DOE for its approval, then sort of saying that to us is already a regulatory overreach. So that is basically what is the issue.
Mr. Chair, I think ERC or DOE may have some questions on that because you cannot say anything about the regulatory overreach. The point that you are a regulated entity.
Yes, Chair. Yes, Department.
In the letter, I'll help you recall it, sir. In the letter, there was when we issued, this was back in 2022, the letter. So it's a constitutional prohibition on impairment of contracts. And nakikialam na kami sa kanila. Now we could not dictate we cannot dictate them because they have a concession agreement.
I guess so, Mr. Chair. However, this is not may national interest and security concern na to eh. So I think the point that the reason why they have, the one that has to actually impose the DOR should be either DOE or ERC to you, and not you submitting to them what they will follow. So I don't think the overreach isn't ERC or DOE. I think the overreach of the control that you want on the system is in NGCP.
And Mr. Chair, I'll just add yung isang reason is that the letter B is DOE has no regulatory powers over NGCP. Because despite the fact that DOE is mandated under the same to be to exercise supervision and control over all government activities relative to energy projects, what they cite is because in the concession, the concessionaire as a regulated entity is to be regulated by the ERC. Kaya we've always had that debate and it clips our...
I think that that issue is for another
Yes, I did
hearing.
But yeah, Mr. Chair, but I guess that for the last, I wish to request from the NGCP all of the requests from the power plants that they are all of the letter of requests for the power plants for accreditation that they have sent for accreditation so that they could be qualified for contingency reserve, ancillary reserve, or dispatchable reserve. What is the status of these discussions with them, and what is the status of the acquisition, in contract acquisition synod for that? I think that's all for now, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Honorable Reyes. Yes, proceeding, may we now recognize Honorable Matiba.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. After how many hours of discussion here, I just want to ask Mr. Chair, do you think it's about time that the system operator or the system operation of our country be backed to the Philippine government? Kasi as I can see, tinuturo din naman ng NGCP ang DOE. Tinuturo ng NGCP ang ERC. And I think that is so unfair. Because I am very happy that ERC now is very cooperative and it's really for the Filipino people and for the country. So Mr. Chair, what do you think the DOE or ERC, especially to Prof. Wally, who is the author of the grid code, of the Philippine grid code, do you think, obviously, what happened, there is a simple negligence or failure to exercise a prudent judgment in managing the grid. So before I go there, I want to ask, Mr. Chair, is Mr. Christian Ereno, were you there during that day, January 2, 2024, 12:06 p.m.?
Yes, Mr. Ereno.
Yes, during that day, the dispatchers were there, and then when the event happened, I went there.
Okay, so you were in that place wherein it is your responsibility and it is your responsibility to think and decide to exercise a prudent judgment whether to do market intervention or the manual load dropping. Senate, Mr. Chair.
Yes, Mr.
Yes, Mr. Chair, the day-to-day operations are being handled by our dispatchers. As I mentioned a while ago, there were 3, and so after the incident, I was in Cebu in the office. I went to the control room together with some of our colleagues, and we were discussing the measures in order to restore the Panay.
So, Mr. Chair, you meant Mr. Erenio said that there were 3 people who were in that place. Am I right?
That is correct. There are always 3 people, 24/7, manning the control center.
Mr. Chair, may we get from Mr. Erenio the names of those 3 personnel or dispatchers of NJCP?
Yes, if NGCP can submit the list of names of the dispatchers during that incident.
We will submit, Mr. Chair.
Thank you.
Because, Mr. Chair, I think this is a simple case of someone sleeping in the noodle house. That's why I would want to ask if the government is now ready to take over or to give back the system operation back to the government. Para naman siguro sa simple judgment call na it is a very unfair happening for the people of Panay. Bilyon ang nawala. It was a horrible economic loss. And I could just imagine how our representatives from Iloilo, from Mimaa, how they take good care of their people, especially those who are sick. So sana, maiwasan natin yung ganito situation na parang kapag may natutulog ulit sa pansitan, siguro pwede na nating sabihin na malagwat criminally and administratively sa Ombudsman or Sandigan Bayan. Now, Mr. Chair, I would like to ask our very hardworking Ma'am Chairperson Alicia de Malanta, if ever we already get that person responsible for this happening of the blackout for 3 days in Panay, what would be the possible penalty for this?
On the part of the ERC, the responsibilities we are looking at and therefore the scope of penalties we can impose are not on a person-to-person basis. It's on SO, on NGCP as far as its performance of the SO. But maybe it's worthwhile mentioning, we have started last year our coordination with the DOJ for the implementation of the penal provisions of EPIRA, because the penal provisions of EPIRA are on individuals. They have not been put to action. So we've started working with DOJ on forming a task force so that we can also activate the penal provisions of the EPIRA. But that will go to the regular courts, not under ERC jurisdiction.
So for the amount, Mr. Chair, how much penalty could they impose?
Maximum po 50 million lang ma'am per violation.
So 50 million. So very easy for them to rectify this, no ma'am. So going back to my first question, do you think, Mr. Chair, I want to address this to the OERC or even to the author of the Philippine Grid Code? Would you think that the government is already ready to take back the operations, the system, the SO for our country? In relation to this, Mr. Chair, I am very happy also to see the video of our President BBM, because upon this happening, he already stood his view, and he would really want to help in rectifying our electricity problem. And in relation to this, Mr. Chair, I am aware that Maharlika funds is being considered to be invested to the transmission facilities. It is my opinion, more than the financial investment to transmission industry, is for the government to really take back the system operations. Especially now, they are just pinpointing all of their issues to the government, so why not just take it back? Thank you.
Yes, Transco, if you can answer if you already have the competence to perform the functions of a system operator.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. On behalf of the DOE, I would like to manifest that Transco is very much ready to take over system operations.
Thank you, Transco. And if that's the last question of Honorable Matiba.
That would be all, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. And last on the list is Honorable Janet Gary. Ma'am, it's your time.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, if you will allow me to present a very rapid growing session. I think we have the TV there.
Yes, ma'am.
Ayan. Okay. So just to orient everybody, I'm depicting the flow of power into the body of a human person. Kasi para mas maramdaman ng ating mga stakeholders. Ayan po. So ito yung puso, or heart. This is the brain. These are actually all the arteries in the veins. Let's focus on the arteries. Kasi siya yung nagsusupply ng dugo sa buhay ng isang tao. Kaya, ayan yung ating tao, buhay siya. So if we relate this problem to this picture, will you confirm that the heart will be the power? Ayan, mas clear. So it's for your picture. This is the brain, the heart, the vessels, or the arteries, and this is a human being. Or we can refer this to an organ. And puso, can we relate that? Probably we can answer it. Can we relate that to the heart as the power producer? Is it a yes? Okay. And these arteries is the transmission lines, or NGCP. So I take it as a yes. At ito naman are the consumers, or the distribution utilities. So with this photo, yung ating kasing puso, our heart is actually 4 chambers. So you pump blood in, the blood goes out. And it's regulated by pressure, demand. Kung mataas ang demand, mas magpapump siya ng lalo. Kung mahibaba naman ang demand, mabagal naman yung kanyang pagpump. What happens if there is a problem? Let's say there's a constriction, kasi smoker ka o nagkaroon ng bara. By physiology, there are actually tributaries, kaya nga marami yung agos, marami yung transmission line. Kasi kung iisa lang yan, let's say example, tumaas yung, nagkaroon ng konting problema dito sa isang chamber, magpo-compensate. Medyo bibilis o lalakas yung puso, pero para patuloy na nabubuhay yung tao, maghahanap siya ng collateral. And by nature, there are actually collaterals because that's how life is. In other words, when this happened, let's look at the heart, the 4 chambers of the heart, the power producers in Panay. And based on the chronology, I was listening earlier on Facebook. I heard that there was an initial trip of a power producer. Kasi kung sa puso, ang nangyayari niyan, let's say yung baga mo may tubig. So pag may baga yung tubig, in between these two chambers is the lungs. So kung may baga, kailangan nila ng mas malakas na pressure. So aakto yung ibang chamber. Dito, ang nangyayari yata, nagkaroon ng isang power producer na nag-trip. At ang problema, pag ganun ang mangyari kasi at walang preparation itong ating mga arteries, the whole heart will fail. And I'm just correlating it. Kasi dapat ang nangyayari, pag may problema sa isang chamber, magkakaroon ka ng collaterals, pwedeng magnipis, let's say yung blood flow is not 100%, it can be 70%, it can be 50% or 30%, and there will be collaterals. Kaya nga yung doktor, sasabihin ka agad sa inyo yan, ay magpa-anjo tayo. Kasi pag makita mo, ay kumikipot, pero buhay pa yung tao. Kasi naubos na yung collaterals, lalagyan mo ng bypass or collaterals before pa mamatay yung tao. So if we relate it to power, these are the power producers, this is a transmission line, and these are the users with the distribution utility. So kung talagang may bara at wala siyang pagdadaanan, patay ang diyo, kaya kami nagka-blackout. So kung meron naman ibang dadaanan, hindi naman siya totally blackout with meditation, but it can prepare. But this sudden shut off is actually a massive heart attack. And a massive heart attack only happens if there are no tributaries. Yung walang-wala ka ng madaanan, na maski tornilyo, not the tornilyo, the needle, maski karayo hindi makadaan. And in a human body, physiologically speaking, when the heart stops, everything stops. Kung patay ang puso, patay ang tao. Pero kung patay yung utak, you can have a brain-dead person, but still living. Patay yung utak, pero buhay pa rin kasi yung puso. In this case, the heart died because the tributaries were not present. That's what I'm getting. I'm trying to laymanize it kasi para mahinto ang tulakan. So may I get the opinion, Mr. Chair, of our stakeholders? We can listen from DOE, and then NGCP, and the distributed utilities. In this chart, saan tayo nagka-problema?
Yes, who is willing to, I think DOE siguro, Asek Marisigan, Mario?
Dr. Mario?
Di ba po ako, Doktor? Well, yung pong pagkakarelate ni Kong Janet, I believe that that is a good representation. Having one of the chambers first na-collapse, may problema, but hindi na-address ng mga arteries, yung mga collaterals. Kung bumilis yung puso, kasi kulang na isang chamber, so kailangan bibilis yung pumping ng puso. So ready dapat yung collaterals para pagdaanan. But apparently, hindi nagkaroon ng sufficient na collaterals, walang ginawang sistema o nagkulang para ma-determine saan padadaluyin yung mas mabilis na pagdaloy ng dugo. Kung kaya sa halip na ma-arrest at ma-recover yung isang chamber na nawala, nag-collapse yung lahat ng chamber. So that's how I perceive po yung representation. Thank you very much po.
Mr. Chair, maybe the other stakeholder.
Yes, from the stakeholders.
From NGCP?
Yes, Mr. Ortiz.
Thank you,
Mr. Chair, if I may, my first question is, does NGCP agree that in this setup, you are the arteries?
Tama po, Mr. Chair.
So my next question is, saan po nangyari ang problema?
Ang problema po, Mr. Chair, nung una, nagkaroon ka ng problema sa isang chamber, yung PEDC-1, nag-trip siya. Tumitibok pa rin po yung puso, Mr. Chair. Kaya lang, meron pang isang chamber ng huminto at nire-revive ito po, Mr. Chair, nilagyan ng mga aparato, yung katawan ng tao. Kaya lang, biglang huminto yung ibang chambers. Bakit? At hindi naman inaasahan hinto sila. Yun po ang tinitingnan natin ngayon kung bakit biglang huminto, yung dapat hindi hinto. Yun dapat ang malalaman natin para mabigyan natin ng kaukulang solusyon para hindi na po mangyayari dito, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chair, tama po si Sir Daryl Ortiz. At napakagaling niyo pong if you were a doctor, dalawa tayo, pwede kang maging doktor, pwede kang maging abogado. And pardon me for this, but you are a better lawyer than a doctor. Kasi po, tama po yung sagot nyo na nagkaroon ng failure sa isang chamber at nag-spread siya sa apat. But by physics, by science, ang failure kasi, hindi yan biglaan. Isang chamber mag-fail, maghahanap yan ng paraan. But if all chambers fail, it's because there's a total blockage. Kaya nga yung tao, pag lang sa puso yan, he or she can live for years. But then you're going to start the field, kaya may opportunity, kaya nagkakaroon ng mga bypass. And in this way, talagang napakalaki kasi dapat yan, napakalaki ng yung aorta. And that's actually your main line. The aorta is very big at hindi yan mapapara kasi napakalaki niya. Yung mga para dun na sa dugo. And in this case, your transmission lines also acts in the same way. So, kung nabara yun ng total, dalawa lang yun. Super sira na siya, o may sira na talagang matagal ng sira na related, or wala siyang madaanan over the years, probably hindi nagkaroon ng collaterals. At pagka wala kang collaterals, it simply means you didn't initiate any obstruction. So we need to resolve this, Mr. Chairman, because if the statement that DOE agrees to my comparison, and NGCP also agrees, but is a little bit lawyering, pardon me for that, the issue now, natuwa kami kasi may ilaw na kami, but actually what we did, what you all did, and what DOE's leadership did, is to resuscitate the heart. Nag-MI siya, nag-heart attack siya, i-resuscitate siya, pero wala kang ginawa, anytime mamamatay pa rin niya. Would you confirm this, NGCP, Mr. Chair?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Kaya nga ang sabi ko kanina, Mr. Chair, pag hindi natin talaga na kita kung ano talaga ang dahilan, kung bakit huminto yung puso, at na-revive na siya ngayon, ihinto pa rin yun talaga, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chair, next question.
Kasi yung dalawa kong kapatid kasi mga doctors, kaya medyo may kunting alam ako sa medicine, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chair, Mr. Chair, segue ko lang tama po yan, nag-resuscitate tayo, kaya nabuha yung puso. So temporarily it's pumping, but it's a very temporary solution. At tama po kayo, sir, ang sabi niyo po, hanapan dapat ito ng solusyon. So sa pananaw niyo, what will be the solution? And how much time do we have?
Yun pong sa pangako po namin, Mr. Chair, yung dapat tapusin namin yung safety 3. Marami din pong improvements dapat sa Philippine Greek Code. Ngayon po kasi walang section doon sa Philippine Greek Code na nagsasabi sa mga power plants na at the alert state, dapat hindi pa sila bumitaw. Dapat meron pang time na bibigay para maka-recover, ma-restore ang power system. Ang nangyari nung January 2, kung bumigay ang PCPC, sumunod yung ibang planta kasi ang protection ng ibang planta masyadong conservative, kaya lalong lumala nung nag-trip lahat ng mga planta sa Panay. Meron po sa ibang jurisdiction, Mr. Chair, na define po kung kailan sila dapat bumitaw habang ang system ay nire-recover or nire-revive. Dapat po
In other words, Mr. Chair, Your Honors, if I may laymanize the answer of Mr. Ortiz, ang sinasabi po niya, ang naging problema ay dito sa chamber ng puso. Kasi yung isa bumigay, yung pangalawa bumigay, baka manipis siya, pumutok siya. Pero pasensya na po, medyo hindi kasi siya aligned sa normal process. Kasi tama naman po kayo, dapat hindi sila bibigay. Pero pag bumigay kasi sila, ang ibig sabihin yan, na-reach na yung limits. So para hindi siya bumigay, kailangan meron siya mapuntahan. So you actually mentioned the solutions. And that is creating more, sabihin na natin, parang may spare tire ka dapat, and that is what is mandated in your franchise. And that And I believe whether you accept it or not, the solution, let's say 80% of the solution rests on you. If there are problems on the laws, on legislation, the chairman can actually make the necessary presentation. And it's an emergency, so that can be immediately acted upon. Pero ang tanong nga natin, hindi na-create yung tributaries. And you had good solutions that you mentioned, although you don't want to admit that the problem was we have deficient or insufficient tributaries. So my next question, dun sa mga solusyon na sinabi mo, referring to the arteries, how much time do we have and how much time can you deliver the solution in reference to this?
Mr. Chair, yung sinabi ko kanina, yung what's awaited natin na project, ang CNP3, Sibuney Cruz Panay Project 3, na ang pangako namin dapat matatapos sa punto ng March this year.
March this year. So, sir, pasensya na po. Ang sinasagot nyo kasi ang pangako namin. I'm not asking about promises kasi marami nang nag-promise sa akin na hindi natupad. Ilang beses na kami broken hearted. At sir, ayaw ko na maging broken hearted, Mr. Chairman. Kaya ayaw ko ng pangako. Ang gusto ko ay sagot. Kailan ito matutupad?
Based po doon sa timeline ng project construction namin, this will be completed po, Mr. Chair, by March 31. Ang kulang na lang po dito ay...
Year please, year please.
This year po. Construction, nasa construction stage na po lahat ito, Mr. Chair.
Ano po ang pwedeng makaharap ng delay dito, Mr. Chair?
Wala. Mr. Chair, wala na pong right of way project.
Right of way issue.
Maaari lang kung ipahinto kami ng mga LGU sa construction, pero wala na rin po sa tulong ng DOE. So, construction na lang din po talaga ang finishing na ng construction ng...
So, Mr. Chair, Your Honors, if I may, ulitin natin, andyan yung puso, nag-heart attack siya, namatay siya temporarily, you were all able to resuscitate it. Now, you have until March 31, 2023 to be able to provide a permanent solution so that the heart will not have a heart attack again. So are you saying that by March 31, 2023, and that is by April kung saan magiging mas mainit ang panahon at mas malakas ang konsumo ng kuryente, we will not be experiencing another blackout? Mr. Chair. Yeah.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, please.
ang sinasabi namin yung part ng DCP, yung pagtapos ng CNP3, pero meron pa rin malaking problema sa Panay Island.
Ano po yung malaking problema, Mr. Chair?
Kailangan din po ng capacity pa po doon para po may mawala pong mga generating units sa Panay. Locally, meron pong available na mapalit po doon. Sa ngayon kasi wala kaming na-source sa Panay for ancillary services ng RR, CR. Ang na-source sila namin doon yung reactive power support saka yung dispatchable reserve na maliliit lang po mga planta. Kung kailangan...
Pardon me, Mr. Chair. Pardon me, sir, for my ignorance. By saying source, pwede naman na yung source na nasa Luzon din or talaga hindi pwede?
Yun pong galing sa Luzon at galing sa Mindanao, hindi po sila makakapag-provide ng ancillary services. Dapat locally available po ito. So kung Visayas, locally available sa Visayas, pero kung gusto nating palakasin ang Panay Island, dapat din po yung locally available power plant that could provide regulated reserve, contingency at responsible reserve.
Mr. Chair, may I now shift the question to DOE? Kasi ang sagot nga ng NGCP is they're going to solve the problem by March 31, 2024.
24 this year.
2024. Tamo sir, si Mr. Ortiz naman, kanina pa pag 2023 ng 2023, yes siya ng yes. 2024 na pala.
Hindi pa po na-receive, Mr. Chair, yung calendar ko. Sorry po, 2024 po, Mr. Chair.
Honorable Chair, that will be your last question.
Yeah, last question to DOE, Mr. Chair. Ang ibig sabihin ni NGCP, yung puso daw hindi raw nakaka-stretch, kailangan ng mas mapalakas na capacity. That's why the blackouts can still happen April onwards. Do you confirm this? And are there solutions in the pipeline? And maybe you said...
Before Mario Yusek answers, up to March 2024, it is possible na mangyari ito ulit. Because the CNP is not there. This is one of the major reasons. So we're we're in danger for the next 3 months.
3 months.
But if we're saying that that's the only solution, no? But I'll leave it to Mario and Yusek kung anong iba pang system or any generating improvements na kailangan natin before and after siguro na. Thank you.
Yes, Asik Garcia.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. As we have indicated earlier, we will provide the committee on the list of committed projects in Western Visayas, particularly in Panay. As we have indicated earlier, we have several conventional and renewable energy project proposals, not only in Western Visayas, but particularly in Iloilo. There is a hydro project in Paras. Then we have also biomass cogeneration project in Pasig and several other projects. So we will submit it to the committee.
Thank you,
Yeah.
DOE. Honorable Green, last.
Yeah, if Yusek Marasigan can answer my question in relation to the response of Mr. Ortiz. He mentioned and then you said ito yung mga nasa pipeline. But what's the timetable? So, I know about the biomass in Pasig. It's not yet operational. Or one in Paras also is not yet operational.
The listed projects that we have as committed are in the period of 2024 up to 2026.
So in other words, if we have, let's take away from now until March, yung after March 31 muna, lalo na yung dun sa summer, mawawala yung problema? What's the possibility?
Dapat po kasi mayroon pang kasabay na ibang project yan. Particularly the Mindanao Visayas interconnection project, as well as the other component of the CNP of the Cebu Negros Panay Stage 3 interconnection project. Why? Because immediately we have around 400 megawatts from Mindanao that can be transferred to Visayas. And if the CNP project is completed, these 400 megawatts can reach as far as Panay. But as also indicated in the discussion earlier, it's not only the CNP Stage 3 project. There are substation and other facility components that will ensure na hindi lang po yung available ng line. Yung stability of the system also entails additional facilities like pag-upgrade po ng mga substations.
And this is NGCP's.
Also, lahat po yan ay on-site
When are they
transmission.
upgrading based on
Yes
the
po.
reports?
Doon po sa isang nakita kong dokumento, in fact, yun po entire Panay dapat magkaroon sila ng 230 kV line. At para po ma-enhance yung sa Iloilo side lang, may tatlo po yatang identified na 100 na substation na dapat i-increase up to 100 megawatts. 100 MVA. So tatlo po yun na dapat makompleto. Tapos yung po nabanggit kanina ng ating representative na ating GM from Electric, na yung po protection system na dapat na yung start bomb. Kasi makakatulong po rin yan. Kasi kung marami, alam po natin maraming renewable energy galing sa Negros. So, to ensure na maganda yung quality ng power pagka-transmit sa Panay, kailangan po natin ng mga ganitong facilities. So, kahit kung meron tayong linya, kung kulang naman yung mga facilities natin to make the system stable, baka po makarin pa rin tayo po. Thank you very much.
Mr. Chair, will you allow NGCP to respond to that?
Yes.
For them to give us the actual timelines and
Oh. Well, I think NGCP will already be submitting certain list of projects in the TDP.
Substations.
Yeah, and we're going to have another round of hearings. So, ma'am, if you
Substation.
sige ma'am, let's just hear when the substation upgrade,
Where
if it's already in the pipeline. Is it under construction? Is there already a time when it's going to be completed?
Mr. Chair,
Yes, you said.
the substation that they're talking about is actually underwent some negotiation period. It's needed to be upgraded kasi nag-i-increase yung demand ng Iloilo. Now, you need to upgrade that despite the fact that you will still have the kailangan kasi ng city yan eh. They had a problem with the owner of the lot. Hindi sila nagtugma. And we met the parties last month already with NGCP. We're all working together naman to fix the problems. NGCP, Moore was there also. And I think they're trying to arrive at an agreement. Hindi ko na alam yung terms din kasi ano na yan, commercial transaction na. Because I think the distribution utility wants it finished sana by next year kasi nag-i-increase na. Actually, they want it before summer. Pero that's impossible. And the problem there is actually on the construction, the length of construction, which is around 400 days. So, ang target nito is supposed to be December. Yes. Pero supposedly, ang commitment is December 31. Doon sa Senate happen. December 31, 24. Yes, hopefully.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, pasensya na po kasi we have to put a closure on this. So NGCP was the problem of the law. Is it yung payment? Is it the price?
NGCP, so
Kasi baka naman negligible yung we're losing, the Panay is losing billions because of this. So, kung hindi nagkakasundo, baka kasi ayaw magbayad sa lupa, ayaw nalaman na.
So in other words, the upgrade of the substation is already under construction for...
Wala, kasi hindi nga nagkakasundo. Nagkaroon ng problema sa
Kala ko
lupa.
na fix na ni... Okay.
Yeah, but there's a problem.
Okay.
And there's a problem on the land of this.
Right, so
That's why
let's
we-
hear from NGCP Attorney.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The negotiation with the PEDC is for the acquisition of a lot inside the PEDC complex. This is supposed to be the site where the new Iloilo 230 kV substation will be constructed. We are actually negotiating for NGCP to be allowed by PEDC to proceed with the construction of the project pending the finalization of the commercial terms.
Yeah, but Mr. Chair, I'm really sorry, medyo masalimot pa. What's the problem? Is it land acquisition? Is it the pricing? Do they want to? Yeah, but the agreement will always, it will always boil down to the cost. So kung yung sasabihin natin na you will be allowed to construct despite the non-completion of the documentary requirement, that will be more or less impossible. Kasi syempre, it's not your property yet. What's the problem? Are they selling or are they not selling?
It's really about the agreement of the fair market value, Mr. Chair.
So it's the cost. Let's laymanize it. Yung mga fair market value, lahat medyo hindi kasi naiintindihan masyado ng masa. Ang punot-dulo dito, Mr. Chairman, hindi pa tuloy-tuloy yung project kasi hindi sila nagkakasundo sa presyo ng lupa. So maybe...
Yes, Mr. Castro. Attorney, if you can turn off your mic. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, as far as I know, Mr. Chair, the bone of contention really is that the assets to be acquired by MGCP have been reclassified already by the ERC as transmission assets, no, which was an order from ERC about 2 years ago. However, well, from my understanding is that that is an associated unit, no, that's coming from the PPC that PEDC wants to sell in, well, all together. But NGCP is saying they don't need these assets from PEDC. What they only need is the one from PEDC. So the bone of contention now is that will PEDC sell only the substation without the without the associated asset, because that's only what NGCP needs, or will NGCP buy the whole and not use the PPC substation? So that is where it is, Mr. Chair.
And then that's a major problem, Mr. Chair. That's a major problem. That's why I wanted to point it out. Anyway, Mr. Chair, in the interest of time, may I again repeat last one question to NGCP. Do you believe that in this diagram, kayo po ang dugo ng Panay? You are the blood of Panay. So,
Mr. Chair, kami po, i-confirm kami po yung arteries.
yeah, and the arteries carries the blood, so that's how very important. And because, Mr. Chair, I have been receiving a query from the Honorable Dan Fernandez, my mentor, and all of us are adults. Mr. Chair, napaka-importante po ng dugo. Lahat na tayo dito adults na. Just to lamanize it, yung mga lalaki, 90%, if they're diagnosed with erectile dysfunction, they go ballistic. Sa mga babae, hindi. But bottom line, erectile dysfunction is all about blood supply. It can also produce erection, and it can also reduce the erection. But if you know the blood supply, imagine the male organ being gangrenous or mamamatay, magraran-amak yung mga lalaki. And that's demonizing how important the supply of blood is. Kung walang dugo, mamamatay yan. Will you, as a male, accept a gangrenous organ? Of course you would not.
Mr. Chairman, may I interject?
Yes.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, yes.
Definitely, I believe Mr. Chair has good blood supply. So I ask
Thank you, Honorable Gani.
Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Honorable Fernandez.
And would like to take this opportunity. I heard that there is no second round anymore. And I'm just happy to tell this committee that you have handled this hearing rightly. Congratulations. And we've been there sa lahat, even sa NGCP. We have exploited them so much, but our objective is really to help this government to succeed. And be that as made that we have released our anger. We know that you have understand our intention, and we believe that together with our government agencies and the members of this committee, headed by Chairman Lord Velasco and the Speaker of the House, we will be able to find a solution. Maraming salamat, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Honorable Fernandez. And for a short statement, yes, for second round, I think we have two. For second round, we have Representative Bagoa and Representative Castro. Just a brief statement because we've already we've been here for 6 hours already, please.
Recommendations, nagmamadali din ako, Mr. Chair. Hindi ko na siguro mahabol yung 16 ko na apply. Recommendations, Mr. Chair. One, kung wala pa kayong simulator, mayroon na kayo? Yung equipment sa simulation, mayroon naman talaga kayo dyan. No? So, that is one of the amendment na doon sa grade court. Yung regular simulation in every grade. Kasi doon mo makikita kung kailangan mong ilipat yung mga protection mo. Kasi nag-iiba yung load. Kailangan, yung kasama yun sa grade court. Pangalawa, Mr. Chair, yung regular, no? Wala sa grade court natin ngayon, yung regular, i-define na lang ng GMC, ano yung regular, ano yung duration ng regular na pag-adjust ng mga protection natin. Pangatlong, alin doon sa grid court should be yung yung ano natin, I don't know if sa grade code to, sa Otsrong siguro to, kailangan natin i-compensate yung provider ng imbak. Kasi napaka-risky po yun, only part of the power plant na maghahabol ka ng imbak sa grid, madisgrasya mo yung plant mo, tapos at present, they are not compensated. I think sa Otsrong yun. Then, pangatlo yung power restoration protocol natin, ISO, ay dapat naman siguro i-consider natin na kung sino yung planta na nakabalik on time or naibalik na, habang hindi pa totally normalized, ay bigyan po natin ng halaga yung mga connected load na may kontrata doon. Kasi napaka-unfair naman po na yung mga walang kontrata doon sa planta na naka-online ay pare-pareho yung ano natin, except kung magkaroon ng system at balance. Pero kung hindi naman, ay kailangan natin i-supply yung may kontrata doon. Sa protocol yun. Then yung pag-reinstate natin ng grade management committee, napakahalaga po yun. Para kahit ako, tulad nung dati, I am willing to volunteer. Kahit kunting may interpret tayo doon. Based on experience. Kasi hindi lang naman lahat ang nakakaalam yung professional electrical engineer. Kung minsan din, most of the time, yung pa-engineer, mayroon din may tambak. Then, sa reporting naman po, again, this is a grade code natin, ay baka po pwedeng silipin natin na ang reporting ay hindi lang during may mga significant incident. So, i-report din natin yung may mga significant changes. The ISO now should report to the regulator or to the Grid Management Committee yung mga significant changes in load at saka yung location ng mga bagong power plants. Dito papasok yung, i-reiterate ko yung dati kong recommendation na dapat ang DOE mayroon siyang hand as much as possible kung saan ilocate yung mga bagong planta. Hindi natin pabayaan na yung magpuputat ng planta na dito ako dahil mura yung lote dito, yung lupa. Siguro i-consider din natin yung future na kung malayo ka, marami tayong kailangan ng mga auxiliary na yan, hindi aakma. So, Mr. Chair, may bill kami dyan, nakapinting sa committee, matagal na. Amendment po yan ng Section 45 yan ng IPILA. Naibalik namin si Napocor sa Power Generation for Auxiliary. Kailangan i-put up niya yung pinakamalaking unit, equivalent to pinakamalaking unit of that grade, para government control yung pagpupatak po sa kanya. Then, basahin ko lang, Mr. Chair, in brief, yung sabi ko na, yung grade code kasi, nakadesign siya na magkaiba talaga. I have no against NGCP. Ang sinasabi ko lang, nung clean-up to, talagang nakadesign siya na magkaiba yung TNP at saka ISO. Tingnan mo yung 7.6, 0.1, 0.2, the transmission network provider under the advice of the system operator, 7.6 toto under 7.6. Dalawa lang agad sila minention dito. Inulit-ulit ito. 7.7.2.1. The grid owner and all the users shall provide the system operator in writing. So talagang magkaiba siya. 7.7.2.2. Following the issuance of significant incident notice by the system operator, the grid owner or the user, blah blah blah. 7.7.2.3. A joint investigation of the significant incident shall be conducted only with the system operator and the grid owner and the user. So, ulit-ulit, sinasabi lang dito, ready na to sa, yung grid code is ready sa, yung hiwalay. But I'm not saying na, ngayon pa lang, hiwalay na ngayon. Tinokoy ko lang na yung grid code is crafted na magkahiwalay yung nag-operate sa dalawang function. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Lago. But supply po. And last but not least, can I hear Honorable Castro?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Talaga nag-antay ako, no? May mga tanong sana ako sa mga DU kasi masyado nang bugbog yung NGC eh. At nakita na natin yung root cause. Sorry for that. Bugbog na bugbog ng NGC. At nakita na natin yung root cause. Ay, NGCP. NGCP. So, maganda yung nakita ko ng hearing, Mr. Chair, nakita na natin yung root cause. So, yun naman yung plano, yun naman po yung objective ng hearing na ito. So, katulad ng description ni Dr. Garin, Congressman Dr. Garin dun sa sistema ng pagbibigay ng kuryente, ay talagang interconnected yan. So, hindi pwedeng, hindi pwedeng sila yung isa, di ba? At lahat talaga may papel dito, Mr. Chair, sa nangyari sa Panay. At hopefully din mangyari yan sa ibang mga lugar. So may mga tanong po ako sa mga DU for preparation lang po for the next hearing. Kaugnay nung, halimbawa, ano ba yung ginawa ng mga DU, yung mga power distributor. Kasi huwag kayong, hindi kayo pwedeng maligtas dito. Kailangan meron din po kayong naging role sana dito. Siguro next meeting na yan, paghandaan na lang ninyo, no? Sa MOR, marami rin akong tanong sa MOR, Mr. Chair, no? Yung tungkol sa MOR, yung ano ba yung ginawa din ng MOR to protect din yung own system, no? Paghandaan na lang yan, ito na kailangan ng tanong. Ay, ito naman kailangan sagot sa ngayon. Tapos yung, bilang meron kayong 30% na as demand sa Panay, so paano po nakikipag-ugnayan yung MOR sa GENCO at NGCP para maiwasan natin po yung blackout? Ano po yung mga proyekto ng MOR after ng takeover po ng power supply po dito sa Iloilo? Ayun nga, tinatanong ko nga si Kong Lago kanina, bakit hindi rin kayo nagpatupad ng hindi nila po role yung automatic load tracking, pero dapat nagpatupad din po kayo ng MLD. So kung nagawa din po ito, so paano din po sana nakatulong ito sa prevent. Ayan, nakikinig si Mr. Castro, no? Doon sa mga tanong ko, dapat sinusulat na rin po para sa susunod na. So matagal na yung ILP program ng ERC at DOE. Ilan na po yung ILP customers ng MOR? Ito po yung ILP sa kapakinabangan po ng ating madla. Interruptible load program. May mga malalaking customers na di kumukonect sa kuryente ng DU, lalo pa kapag may mga plantang offline at generator lang ang gagamitin nila, pero ang gastos ay ibang pasa sa consumers. So, yun po yung mga natin, yung mga tanong susunod. Okay, sapat din ba yung kontratang supply ng MOR? Supply ng more power. Okay? At meron pang ginagawang planta ang power plant sa MOR sa Visayas. Okay? So paano ito makakatulong sa consumers? So, yun lang po, Mr. Chair. And last, para po sa DOE and ERC, moving forward, ano na po yung magiging recommendation ninyo? Kasi nagbigay kami ng recommendation bilang mga congressmen. So kayo po, ano po yung magiging recommendation ninyo, ERC and DOE, moving forward? Yun na lang po, Mr. Chair.
Yes, maraming salamat, Honorable Castro, to my members. But before we adjourn, one last question. Because after the... So just like a while ago, like what I stated, that I think the manual load routing or shedding would have prevented what happened. So what was the reason lang? I just want to find out, what was the reason of NGCP for not doing MLD? Yun lang. Did you guys look into the grid code? Gano'n ba yun? Ang hirap kasi yung baka you went to the grid code, tapos based on the grid code, based on your normal naman. So that's why you didn't do MLD. Is that right? Is that correct?
That is correct, Mr. Chair.
Which provision of the grid code specifically yan?
6.2.3.4.
Can you read that provision?
Based on the GO 6.2.3.4, Mr. Chair, it says, in the event of a credible N-1 contingency, the system or any part thereof shall be operated up to its operational thermal limit capacity, beyond which the system operator shall only intercept to restore stability of the grid. For the avoidance of doubt, manual corrective interventions shall not be imposed to delimit the power transfer capabilities of equipment transmission lines in anticipation of a secondary outage or N-1 minus 1.
And the third paragraph?
Yeah. Third paragraph is, if a significant threat to system security exists following the occurrence of a credible N-1 contingency, the system operator may intervene and shall make the necessary manual corrective actions as required to protect the integrity of the grid.
So, hindi ba clear doon na you guys can do MLD? Tama ba? Manual load traffic? Based on the third paragraph?
Yeah, for this, Mr. Chair, it says if a significant threat, and also on the second paragraph, it says we should not anticipate or like prepare for the in anticipation of a secondary outage.
Yeah. So doesn't that already give you the power to do MLD? Sa akin, parang clear sa akin. Can I ask DOE, is that clear to you? Or ASEC Manasilo? Or
Yes, Mr. Chair, it's very clear to us.
So based on those, on that provision itself, it gave the SO the power to conduct manual load shedding or dropping. Tama? Yes, Asek.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. At the very least, they should have informed the distribution utilities of the situation. So even if they do not instruct the distribution utilities, the distribution utilities on its own can do a certain action. But I leave it to Professor Wali for a better explanation of that. Thank you.
Yes, Professor Wali.
Salamat po. Liwanagin ko lang po yung second paragraph na sinabi na for the avoidance of doubt, manual corrective interventions shall not be imposed to delimit the power transfer capabilities of equipment transmission lines in anticipation of a secondary outage, yung susunod na mawawala na planta. Ito po yung nagre-refer doon sa transmission lines, hindi po sa mga power plants. Meaning, all the transmission lines, kung 100 megawatt ang capacity niya, huwag kong papababayan o kung limitahan, pwede mong sagadin up to 100 megawatt yung capacity naman. So, hindi po ito tungkol sa power plant. So, yung pong pangatlong sentence, doon sa grid code, na sinasabing, you are given the authority to do the manual interventions. Kasi, ang grid code, nire-recognize mo niya, binigyan ng authority ang system operator na pwede mong gawin lahat, even wala kang pasabi. Kailangan mo lang magre-report sa ERC kasi kailangan malaman din kung justifiable yung ginawa mo o hindi mo ginawa. Yeah.
So, yung isa ko pa lang gusto itanong sa iyo, Professor Watt, there's a term there, threat ni...
Opo, yun. So pag sinabi ko...
Kasi subject to interpretation, parang looking at this parang better, hindi na natin ginagawa subject to interpretation ito para wala nang ibang na ano. So, can you explain to us kung ano yung term na inano mo doon?
Yung significant threat po, yun na nga po yung possibility na pwede kang magkaroon ng system collapse kung magkakaroon ka ng another outage. So the system is still threatened. Kaya dapat hindi ka nagre-relax.
So definitely during the N-1, there's the existing significant threat ng time na yun. So that should have triggered the SO to able to conduct or instruct DUs or sila to do manual load shedding. Yes, NGCP.
Yes, sir. Thank you po. Regarding po dun, sir, as mentioned po kayo ng Transco and the Prof. Wally, we can implement manual dropping when we are in the alert state. Pag alert state po, either yellow or red. So I think he's referring to the red alert and emergency condition. Both conditions have criteria in the grid code. For red alert, condition, this operating margin is 0 or there's a generation deficiency. For our assessment, whole Visayas, wala. For the emergency condition, it is also clearly stated in the grid code na to be an emergency condition, first you have a single or multiple contingency. Meron nga po tayo, nagtutulong tayo ng unit, tama. But, and at least any of the following. First, operating margin is 0 or generation deficiency. Wala. Voltages are outside the limits of 0.9 and 0.10. Ibig sabihin, may plus or minus 10%. Hindi naman. And then, loading limits of line are above 115%. Wala rin po. So, we are not red alert. We're not emergency. Hindi po warranted yung load dropping. And then, so definition po ng normal, we can isa-isahin yung criteria na nabanggit po ni ERC para ma-check system ba talaga is normal. Kung grid code po pinag-uusapan, yun po yung mga task plan. So, that's for 1206 to 4019.
Okay. So, hearing the explanation of NGCP, Professor Wally, and looking at total yung grid code naman natin, pinasalang nila ng ERC. So, I think ERC should do certain amendments if warranted to make those amendments. Kasi parang subject to interpretation kasi. That's what I was saying. The only reason why, yun nga eh, di ba? That's the only reason why this all happened, because it was subject to interpretation. There should be like set rules na talagang defined. I guess to NGCP, hindi defined yun. So on our part, mas gawin natin definitive kung talagang kaya pa. But, wait, Professor. But my point is kasi, when the situation of N-1 happened already, so there's already a significant threat eh. Why? Because one, wala kang supply na available na kompleto. Sabihin mo meron, kasi you're getting it from the supply cable, tama? The PN line mo. Eh, on the possibility na magkakaroon ng isa pang shutdown, may pangsalo ka pa rin doon?
Yes, sir. Ganito po. In the case of the next N-1, the system will still be stable. May nakalagay din po sa grid code. Kasi nga, pag inisip natin, pag nag-trip yung line, bagsak na yung Panay, di ba? Wala ka nang talaga N-1, pag tingnan mo eh. Pero kung may nakalagay po doon, for areas without N-1, SIPs or the System Integrity Protection Scheme should be available until the permanent network configuration is in place. So for Panay po, we have SIPs, we have the System Integrity Protection Scheme. So kapag nag-trip po isang planta, ihigop yung demand. Kung mag-activate man siya ng overload, magpapatrip po siya ng load. Kung reverse power, meron po siyang logic na sinusundan. So, Mr. Chair, meron po siyang
kasi very peculiar kasi yung sitwasyon ng Panay eh. You have to consider outside the external consideration. Not only yung sinasabi nyo sa technical aspect. Eh, alam naman natin yung area talagang dulo. So, tapos nangyari, nagkaroon pa ng blackout noong nakarang February, saka April. That have to be considered. Kaya dapat nga, doon pa lang sa unang outage pa lang, meron na kayong, meron na kayong intervention na load dropping. Alam nyo kasi binibigyan kami ng mga, kanina okay na eh. Hindi na kami nagsasalita kasi we admit that we have been emotional dito sa sitwasyon. But now you are depending na naman sa bagay na nagmamatigas kayo, trying to stick on your premise. And I think we can work together. We can work together. Yun lang asahan nyo. But of course, kailangan nyo to consider that yung mga technical terms that you are using, dapat hindi kayo masyadong strict doon. Kumbaga, pwede tayong mag-segue in a different way. Yun lang, Mr.
Thank
Chair.
you, Honorable Fernandez. But what I'm just trying to point out is, if that's how NGCP sees it, they're the system operator. And if we can amend the grid code so that there's no more room for interpretation. Para pag nangyari yung ganitong situation, they can already do it. Kasi if they don't do it, they'll be liable. So it's really a matter of accountability. Sa tingin ko wala lang talagang takot, sorry. So walang takot. Wait. Ang ibig ko sabihin walang takot. Everyone walang takot. Sorry, lahat walang takot. No one's accountable. Mamatay isang power plant? Bahala na kayo. Tama? Mamatay ang distribution utility, maputol ang transmission, bahala na kayo. Kami lahat nagsasuffer. Sino lang ang kumikita? Power plant, distribution, generation. Paano yung mga kababayan natin? So it's really more of that. I think DOE, ERC should look into that. I think it's really more of accountability. Naandyan yan sa accountability. For the grid code, para wala nang subject to interpretation, I think if we can still try to work on that, to be able to give them that, para kunyari, if it is used as an excuse next time, they will be held accountable. Tama po ba?
Mr. Chair, sa grid code, may isingit lang ako. Kasi sino bang nag-decide for that?
ERC.
ERC ang nag-decide.
So with that, ilan nakikita ko, I'm not pointing fingers. Sa tingin ko, lahat may kasalanan. Because it's a whole system. Hindi mo babagsak yan pag ganun. So as to the projects, mga transmission development projects of ERC, mga na-delay, so we have to look into that. Siyempre, of course, before mga approval also sa ERC, although ERC is already doing something with that. And also, I think with the DOE, together with Transco, try to update this committee, yung readiness nyo to be able to, yung decoupling ba, yung pag-separate ng systems operation at ng grid maintenance function. And then lastly, nasabi ko nga, although nag-trip, which hindi naman natin maiwasan, tama? It always happens. That's why ERC has set certain standards na kung kailan gaano katagal ang brownout allowable, ganyan. It's allowable. Ang hindi ko na maintindihan, to be honest, PCPC, pasensya na, hindi ko maintindihan bakit 3 days kayo bago nakabalik. Yun ang gusto ko makuha ng explanation. And I want that explanation to be submitted to the committee. Kasi hindi ko maisip because how many hours is a coal plant required to be back online? Ilang hours yan? From a trip? 1 day? 1 day? Only hours, diba? So I want an explanation from PCPC. Kaya hindi na ngayon, sir, kasi just submit to the committee para we can review it also. And lastly, before we hear the recommendations at mga gagawin ng DOE at ERC, ang tanong ko ngayon sa NGCP, 3 months pa, di ba, bago mawala yung CNP3 natin sa Cebu Negros, Panay. That's 3 months from now. Eh, paano pag next week meron anong bumagsak na PEDC or kahit anong power generator doon? Are we going to look at another blackout in the Panay and Guimaras Islands?
As mentioned po by Yusef kahapon, we will be creating a protocol. Actually, marami po siyang sinuggest na gagawin Based sa notes ko po, 5 items. Part po yun yung protocol. So, we'll be working with them to establish this protocol during the duration.
Yeah, and lastly, from our August hearing, di ba pinag-usapan na natin lahat to? Communication. It's just communicating. What happened last time? Communication. Ngayon, communication na naman. How come you guys don't communicate? Yun lang yun eh. You guys just have to communicate with each other. I don't know, kunyari may mga banggahan dyan, but I think ERC or DOE should be on top of this. I-instruct na natin yung certain protocols on communication amongst DUs, transmission, and generation. Set tayo ng isang ganon. Para naman, we can't use for something as simple as communication in this day and age. Di ba? Instant yan eh. Viber, text message, it's already there. So with that, again, maraming salamat sa resources, sa resource persons, sa ating mga members for their patience. It took us 6 hours and a half, but I think that's so small compared to the 4 days na nag-blackout sa Panay Island at Sigimeras. Again, I thank you. We will have another hearing because there are certain commitments and submissions that we are asking. And also, mainly because this may already transform the committee as a watchdog on this certain situation na nangyayari. So definitely we will wait for the CNP to be online this March. Ng NDCP, kanilang promise. And we hope for something like this. Nangyari na po noong April, third time na pala, pinagyan ng February, 8 hours.
Grabe.
ERC, yung February incident, I don't know if you have any incident report coming from NGCP. Is that from NGCP yung magagaling incident report?
Yes, incident report.
Can you also submit that incident report for the February blackout or tama ba? Attorney Bagsong? Okay. Okay. Wait for the recommendations of DOE and ERC before we adjourn. Yes, Yusek Sharon.
Mr. Chair, thank you for this opportunity. We've taken note of all the requests and also the recommendations to DOE by the committee. And in terms, Mr. Chair, what is worrisome for us, the Department of Energy, is a third time or a fourth time, let's say, now, because anything can happen in the next 3 months and also after that. So we have proposals on two things. No? We have legislative proposals, and also I would like to ask the Yusek on the plans on yung parang temporary, let's say, immediate solutions, so that all the parties that are here can participate. First and foremost, the legislative, Mr. Chair, is revisiting the franchise of NGCP. We've only listed 3 items, but we leave it to the wisdom of Congress. First is the separation of the systems operations of NGCP from the transmission network. And then second is giving more teeth to ERC, because the problem with ERC is they can only find them for 5 million pesos. 50 na ngayon. And we can do it per day or per violation, of each violation per day, and also adjust it to the automatically, no, yung increases niya depending on the CIP, the consumer price index CPI. And we've also included in the IPIRA amendment that we are proposing, Mr. Chair, imprisonment in case of any violations. Because those are the two. And then the third one, Mr. Chair, is the review of the 3% franchise tax in lieu of all other national and local taxes. It is quite low that they don't pay VAT nor corporate income tax and any other taxes for the local franchise tax. So in lieu of all siya. Yes, sir. But in this committee, depends on what the recommendation of the committee is on the franchise, no. But in this committee, we have an IPIRA amendments. I think it needs improvement also. Our proposal in relation to the transmission sector, Mr. Chair, and this we can introduce also the separation of the two functions should there be a need, and many others, Mr. Chair. We will just submit it to you. And you can also tackle on the ownership side, whether there's foreign participation or not, Mr. Chair. And on the side of the immediate actions of DOE, I'd like to ask Dr. Guevara.
Music about it.
Thank you, Chair. Until CNP3 is up and running, there's still a danger that the same situation will happen. So these are our recommendations. First is the full implementation of the reserve market. Yung kakulangan nila ng ancillary services, by January 26 of this year, pwede na nilang kunin sa reserve market. Then we're considering the conduct of auction for a capacity market. Kasi kulang talaga ng capacity doon sa Panay. And we're initially thinking of doing it for Panay and Negros. Third, as mentioned by NGCP, we need to enhance the SO protocol for supply-demand balance and triggers for emergency situation. Dinawin talaga natin kailan ba emergency na. And then, consider having a headroom for Panay generators. Imbis na 100% sila mag-operate, baba natin to 85% para pagka bigla may bumagsak ng planta, may sasagot pa na konting capacity. And then, this is immediate, no? We can adjust the grid operation and maintenance program kung kailan nagsa-shutdown yung mga planta para ma-avoid muna itong first 3 months na crucial while we're waiting for CNP3. And then, of course, we need to ensure the timely implementation and completion of CNP3 and MPIP and other transmission projects. And of course, we'll study sub-grid ancillary services because as mentioned, even if there's ancillary for Visayas, cannot reach Panay. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Yusek Guevara. And last but not the least, can we hear from Chairperson Infanta?
Yes, Mr. Chair, we're completing the investigation and we hope that, so I don't want to preempt the results of the investigation, but we will submit to the committee the full report of the IGMC and any other findings that we may have because we're also conducting our own review of the generator performance. So we'll submit our findings.
Alright, with that, if there's no other concern from the members,
Pag-hearing ulit.
Pag-hearing ulit. Members and the resource persons for their valuable time and active participation in this meeting. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Sir, Chairman, for the electoral dysfunction 16, those male guests we have invited, I move to adjourn.
Seconded, the meeting be adjourned, there will be no objection.